Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Very busy week coming up. It is probably the second or third busiest week of this quarter. A lot of big names every single day, just packed. And I'm expecting a busy week, especially because the overall market's been moving around too. So we got some volatility, we got some wider trading ranges, we got some big earnings. So I'm expecting a busy few days. All right. Before the open on Monday is really nothing of interest. After the close on Monday, one name, Steel Dynamics. They're pricing about 6.5 points. Those are monthly options. Actually, the reason I'm talking about this is because there's actually a few steel names reporting next week. And STLD is the first. So the group trying to turn the corner after getting hit last month. Earnings probably going to determine whether or not it bounces and whether they can really kind of keep this momentum going. So the interesting thing is that U.S. Steel, which is ticker X, doesn't report next week, and it could be a decent sympathy play because you have STLD, NUE, and Cliffs all reporting. For the open on Tuesday, Halliburton. So the first big energy report priced in about $1.25. So when I scroll out, you can see how interesting of a level this 25 is. Right, it's gotten up to it a few times and failed. So it's at a big spot, and obviously energy's had a lot of momentum going into this quarter. So I mean, if the numbers are good and it can really bust through 25, I mean, there could be a pretty big breakout, big pent up multi-year breakout. So I haven't traded energy much recently, but this is a decent bull setup, especially if they can deliver. J&J, so they're pricing in about 4.5 points. Big pharma report, but it really has not been acting well. It's way off its high from August, been in a steady downtrend. Doesn't have a great history of big moves on earnings either, so I think it's going to be an avoid for me. After the close on Tuesday, Netflix, so one of the main events next week, pricing in 37 points, give or take. The stock has had a huge run going into this, and a lot of that has to do with like Squid Game buzz. The only problem is that expectations are a lot higher now, and the stock does not have a great history of recent earnings being rewarded, meaning only one out of the last 7 quarters has it closed green on its earnings day. The option pricing, it's not too high, so maybe look at some lower debit strangles if I can get risk down, where something where I would only need maybe like a 25 to 30 point move to make money, if possible. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but I mean, maybe look at it both ways, see if they continue the streak of selling off, or maybe they can break that pattern and trade higher. But I mean, the pricing doesn't seem too bad in the context of how much it's moved lately. ISRG, so about 15 points was what's priced in here. It had been a great trendy name up until September. And this type of pattern, I guess normally I'd be looking for a bounce back into the trend. But management actually had some cautious comments at a recent conference, so it gives me a little bit of pause. I'll wait and see what they say, see how the stock reacts, and then, I mean, if it can reset the trend, maybe I'll look at it for a swing trade, but I don't think I'm going to play any options into earnings. For the open on Wednesday, ASML, so about 34 to 35 points is what's priced in. Top tier semi supplier, and actually you have Lam, which reports the following day too. So or after the close, excuse me. So you have two top tier semi suppliers. ASML has been a recent leader, just pulled back, starting to turn the corner. It does seem like it's set up pretty well for a snapback if the numbers are strong. Also, what's interesting about this is that AMAT and CLAC, they tend to move with LAM and ASML, and they don't report next week. So they could be nice sympathy plays because you have ASML and LAM both reporting. So like a 1-2 punch of catalysts. Biogen, so pricing in about 13.5 points. They're going to have phase 3 ALS data on Sunday, so I think that might be more of an event than earnings actually next week, because the Alzheimer's launch has been very slow, and you can see the stock gave back the entire move from that Alzheimer's approval. So I think data on Sunday night is going to be the bigger event of the week. So coming in Monday, there could be a decent sized gap on this. After the close on Wednesday, CSX. There's actually a few rails reporting next week, but I'm in wait and see mode on them. Chart looks pretty good, but you can see that it's the CSX is basically straight up into this quarter. IBM, Big Blue, pricing in about 575 or so. Serial disappointer, but last quarter was decent. That was this bar right here. Um, the pricing, I guess, it's basically in line with a typical earnings move, so it's a toss up. Seems like the only way it has a huge move is if it's a big positive surprise or big negative surprise. And in either scenario, it probably could move quite a bit. But I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Is it going to be a big surprise on the upside or downside? Or if it's only just in line, you might not see a move that much more above 575. Lamb. So this was the one I was just talking about. I mean, it doesn't look as good as ASML, and it's been lagging a lot more. But again, I mean, AMAT, CLAC, they're both pretty correlated. AMAT specifically to Lamb, so there might be some nice sympathy play opportunities here. Lamb's priced at 28 points too, by the way. LVS. So about 2.25 is what's expected. I'm less interested in earnings this quarter, and I'm probably going to look at this and/or win late October when the announcement about Macau gaming permits is due, because I think that could be a real big catalyst for the casino stocks that have Macau operations. Tesla. So about 43 points is what's priced in. Stock is just grinding higher into earnings. It's just, for me, it's hard to gauge how high the bar is going to be because, I mean, obviously the stocks had a great move. They just had a really strong delivery number, so I just wonder how big of a beat they're going to need to have for the stock to continue to work higher. Last quarter didn't move much on its report either, so it's kind of hard to lay out 43 points this time around, especially considering the move it's had ahead of time. I guess I would definitely be more bullish, but right now I'm leaning to more towards avoiding it. For the open on Thursday, Crocs, so about 19 points is what's priced in. Those are monthly options. It had a big move on its investor day a couple weeks ago, and it's rolled way off that level. It's gotten hit along with other retailers based off of supply chain fears and disruptions. But if they can crush it again, this could be a pretty quick snapback candidate because it was a leading name and they had a really strong showing at their investor day just recently. So, I mean, if I can get risk down, I might look at something speculative on the bull side. All right, after the bell on Thursday, Intel. So about 260, I guess, is what's priced in here. It's closed sharply lower 5 quarters in a row. All right, and the stock has had no bounce since July earnings. So it's hard to go against that pattern to me. And the pricing seems relatively low too. I'll see how the week goes, but I mean maybe this sets up a volatility strategy, or if it does bounce during the week, I might actually look at just something straight bearish on it. Sam Adams. Speaking of bearish, look at that chart. About 62 points. Those are monthly options. It's what's expected. It's been just absolutely demolished. Hard seltzer craze is fading. Maybe the bar is low enough, but I mean this is a tough setup. I'm just more curious to see what they have to say, just based off of how far it's fallen and the lack of any bounce. It's just I just think it's going to be a tough trade. Chipotle, 84 to 85 points is what's expected. Top restaurant name. They continue to deliver. It's held in great after last quarter, but I always struggle with this because they always seem to price in a lot. And I mean, it did end up moving a lot last quarter, but before that, it didn't really have a great history of moving a lot. Plus, the liquidity is horrible on it. Option spreads are wide. The stock volume is low. I mean, it's definitely one of those stocks that could probably benefit from a stock split. It's just a real tough name to trade, so I don't think I'm doing anything with it. Snap, big one. About 8.5 points. What's priced in here? It crushed it last quarter. The stock was up a ton. It also took up Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter that day too. So I mean, I have to think there's some follow through after such a solid print, and the stock hasn't really gone crazy since July, so it's definitely not extended. I'm bullish biased here. But I also think Pinterest, Facebook, or even Twitter might be a decent sympathy play. I feel like they could maybe move if Snap's really good again. And then before the open on Friday, so Cliffs wraps up. Oh, I forgot to talk about NUE, which was the day before. But Cliffs on Friday, STLD, NUE. I mean, you get the picture. There's a bunch of steel names reporting. US Steel doesn't, so I still think there's a sympathy trade opportunity there. STX, pricing in about 5.5 points. Memory names have not been acting well. Micron's guidance last quarter didn't help, or this past quarter. I guess we'll see what STX has to say. See if it can turn around momentum in the group. But this chart definitely looks susceptible under 80. So it could be something to look at for a speculative bear position, like later in the week. All right. So as you can see, some big names, some big expected moves, and just a busy lineup. So I think it's going to be a good week. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and I'll talk to you